everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Build the Culture with myself, Seth Harrison, and my partner, Thomas Hardy. We got a special guest today, Mike Gill. Welcome,
or
bud.
Michael.
Or Michael. He put
Depends
full
on-
Michael on there.
Depends
Ever
on
since-
how much trouble he's in.
Ever since I've started talking to him, I've been saying Mike. Never once asked him what he preferred. Probably should have done that.
If I'm wearing a tuxedo, call me Michael. But if I'm, dressed down for the occasion, you can call me Mike.
Okay.
I mean, look at his shirt today.
Yeah.
That is a very patriotic shirt for a Friday.
Very proud, man. Very proud to be American.
Hell yeah.
Who's not?
So, Thomas, real quick, what are we here to do?
We're here to kill construction with kindness.
Beautiful.
I said it right.
Beautiful.
I'm going to get it tattooed on me so I can
You don't
remember
forget.
it. I'll just put it on my forearm so I look down at it while I say it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dyslexia
So,
sucks, man.
I mean, would it really help you if you tattooed it on your arm?
No, because I still read it backwards.
Yeah, do you look at it in a mirror or something?
No, I mean, it's just always backwards.
No
So it
matter
doesn't
what.
matter if I
So
look
if
at
it's
it
backwards-
or if it's a mirror.
So if it's backwards in the mirror, it's still backwards.
Yeah, it's just always backwards. My brain goes from the end to the front. It's weird.
Mm.
It's fun, though, because I can see the end of the job before I see the beginning of the job. I can see how the job's going to finish before it starts.
Yeah.
It's weird.
That is a gift and a curse.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's a lifelong thing. And my kids have it, too, so I pass it along to them.
So, Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a subcontractor in the mechanical plumbing world, and
Trade partner.
wonderful trade partner.
There you go. There you go.
That is a buzzword, and I love it. Generally, I'm a middle-aged male, millennial, a lot of alliteration. I've been doing this for close to 10 years, and excited to be here.
Oh, yeah.
What did you do before construction?
Oh, geez, I've been all over the place. Did some time, some hard time in the Army,
Oh.
not jail.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Come again?
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And I will utilize the GI Bill, went to law school, got an MBA, and, decided, hey, you know what? Let's go into construction. And there are moments where I'm like, wow, that was a bad idea. But on the overall, very excited, glad to be here. It's given me a lot of great opportunities. And I feel like what I'm doing is important.
There you go.
Let's talk about that for a second. You went to law school and got your MBA,
Yeah.
and then got into into construction, being with a trade partner.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is So what was your thought? Where were you thinking you were going to go when you went to that law school to get your MBA?
So
What did you want to do?
Man, I was always kind of interested in business and business law,
Mhm.
corporate law. Kind of maybe wanted to be corporate counsel, and
Help out the bad guys.
hey,
I mean, that's what lawyers do, right?
there are a lot of great lawyers doing a lot of great work for all sorts of people. So yeah, the relationships the work that I'm doing now is very similar to the work that I was doing in the infantry. There's kind of that dual leadership team role with superintendent, project manager versus like a platoon leader, company commander, and a sergeant first class, platoon sergeant, or first sergeant at the company level. So the tasks that you do, there's just a lot of similarities, and that's what I felt comfortable with and wanted to get back in. Don't have to run as much, and I can get fat, so that's been great.
Hey,
So you were in 11 Bang Bang, huh?
Yeah, I was in the 11 series, so it was a good time. It was a good time. And,
Oh, you were in the 11 series.
yeah, because I was an alpha.
Okay.
And the 11 Bang Bang, those dudes are rock solid, and I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not. So yeah, I was.
It takes something special to
Yeah.
be ground infantry.
Yeah, to be a just a mad hate spilling gorilla,
Like the epitome of I am fueled by hate, caffeine, and nicotine.
Yeah, that is the 3 narcotics of a good infantryman.
Yeah. Yep. Nope,
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk. You're going to lose respect for me if I tell you what I did. So we're not going there.
I'm interested. You can't tease me like that.
I was an MP. For 6
cool,
years.
Dude. I
For
got
6
pulled over
years.
by an MP once.
It might have been Seth.
No.
It was
unless you're at Bliss.
Kind of an interesting situation, and this is a story for a different time. Well, yeah, so we'll just leave it there. So.
Oh, a tease for a second episode to talk about this?
For a part 2?
Well, for a part 2? Michael, and you don't know this yet, but I'm very good at like teasing part 2s, and then we don't do them.
That's fine.
or teasing a part 2 where we have run out of things to talk about on that topic.
No, we did do that one time. There was one time we teased a part 2, and then we got together
we literally went to go record the next episode. He was like, "What are we talking about?" I'm like, "We're doing a part 2, remember?"
And I was like, "Oh crap!
Dang
I ran out of things to talk about." But we made it. We talked about it.
Yes.
And it was a decent episode.
Yeah,
I mean, it was fine. But we did meet and talk a week ago to talk what we were going to talk about today.
Of course.
And I have forgotten what we had decided.
Well, we just really want, Mike's side of like what he's been through, in his journey in construction, and like how he feels the culture has been over the last 10 years for him as a trade partner.
There's a lot to unpack there, and
that's great, and that's why we have you.
Talk about episode 2 or follow-on podcast. We could probably do dozens of these. Man, there's some really high notes and some really good times and some really smooth projects, and there have been some very challenging projects with challenging teams. And there's been everything in between, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of the great things, and one of the hard things about this job is that, yeah, there are plans, and we're all here to build a building, and it's all there are different tools and processes and ways to perform it, but in between all that is hundreds of people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think for me, it's the thing that has the most variation is not whether you're building a school or data center or a hospital. It's who you're teaming up with.
That is most important, is how the team works together.
Yep,
huge.
And it's not just your internal team too. It's the design team. It's the GC. It's the client, the owners. Your owner's rep. I mean, I've had jobs before, kind of like what you're talking about, where we had a great team internally, had great trade partners. The owner was actually really cool, but then the owner's rep was the one who was always the bottleneck or the problem throughout the entire project. And it made the project 10 times harder just because he was always going the other direction, because he was an old school guy and that's what he wanted to do. That's just how he was. He was defending the owner for everything instead of being in the same boat, creating the same project that we were. He was trying to make it harder, save money, do whatever he could, nickel and diamond everybody. But at the end of the day, it made so much more stress, so much more heartache on everybody. Like the job actually ended up being a little bit longer on the schedule. So there's just little things like that. If you got one, and it only takes one person to go the other direction, and then that's what makes it harder.
Yeah, and this is something I fight personally, when it gets to be like that, and you can kind of, this is where I jump to conclusions, and it's a negative thing, and it probably contributes to kind of a negative spiral. Is I see, oh wow, okay, this is how it's going to be, and I'm in defensive mode immediately. It's like, okay, well, here we go. Boop, 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 boop. Let's build this wall. We're going to do, what's on the plans and specs. And if they're going to, if I'm going to get hosed over by, proceeding with the work in order to maintain schedule, or, making an assumption and sending in a confirming RFI, while proceeding with that and waiting for the response, then I'm going to stop doing that. Things are going to get a lot slower. And it's going to have to go through the process, and it's just not going to be as efficient. I hate that. It's a terrible response, and I'm kind of outing myself. But I mean, it can be such an adversarial process,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about with confirming RFIs and stuff like that, like there becomes a point in the project where there's a lot of times, especially for us as superintendents and the GC side, where we know an RFI, we already know the answer. We know how it can be fixed, but it's a simple thing to fix. But then it comes to a point where a trade partner is, fed up with something else, that they're going to sit there and hold and wait until that RFI is answered because they've been burned several times throughout the project already.
or just
Either-
even previous projects or
previous, or, but it's something to where, like, if everybody's going in the same direction, we're going in the same boat in a sense. Like, you can keep that process moving, but once that, somebody in that boat or that ship is going a different direction, that's when things really slow down. And then it's like, no, we're going to wait till this RFI is answered, which could take a week or two. And now you're holding up so many other trades on that, when it was just a simple fix that could have been done beforehand.
Yeah, and
Just
what you're
because-
talking about is the groove, man, and everybody
Yeah.
wants to be in it. That is the goal, and I love being on projects like that. And
Yeah.
truthfully, it's smoother, faster, less friction involved, emotionally, and that's the goal. And I really hope that becomes more of the norm. I would say that it is becoming. There are more jobs that I have like that. That's in what I would call the groove. Than
not.
yeah, absolutely.
And I'm kind of like you. I've seen a trend in that. I've been doing this 12 years now. So in the beginning, it was tough, but I've learned over the years it's all about relationships, especially being on the GC side. It's all about building those relationships with everybody, from in the field to the guys who are actually like doing the work, cutting everything, being down, getting dirty every day, doing that stuff, and then all the way up to the owners, and building that relationship there, and being that middle person of, hey, we can, if we all create this good relationship, we can make this a good project. And like you're talking about, be in the groove, which I'm going to steal that from you, by the way.
Please do.
I'm going to
just be like,
It's probably the name of this episode now.
The groove.
Get into the groove, baby.
Can we get a cool like groove song as a intro?
I think anything's possible.
Those intros cost, man.
Well, we can make one. But can we give a shout out to all the teachers out there? Because my wife's a teacher, and this coffee mug was a gift from one of her students. And it's a really cool coffee mug, and she gets stuff like this, and I get to steal it and use it.
So really, we should be giving a shout out to all the students.
But she does such a good job that her students give her stuff. So let's give a shout out to all the teachers out there, because they're.
I'll give a shout out to all the great teachers.
I mean, even if you're just an okay teacher, you're still pretty cool, because you're dealing with all of those young minds out there that have no control of their minds, and they're a handful. I'll tell you that.
Respect.
Yeah.
I did like a watchdog thing at my kid's school, and it's elementary school. And my daughter's in first grade. And I tell you what, I was more mentally tired when I left there that day than any day I've left from work. It was
I
just
can get on one of your jobs, dude.
Well, come to a school with 800 kids under 9.
That's
And then it's a lot of energy in that space.
they're still basically feral at that stage.
They are.
They don't know the
I mean,
rules
it's
of
fun.
society. Yeah.
But let's give a shout out to the teachers out there.
Man,
Sorry, I had a squirrel moment.
So Mike, like at what point do you like, have you ever, after someone, let's say, has broken that trust, right? And now you're having to kind of go into defensive mode. Like, at that point, what does someone have to do to try to, mend
Kiss
that
and make up.
relationship? Yeah, kiss and make up. Like, what do they have to do to get to get you back?
I don't know, man. You got to have a fishbowl memory sometimes, or a goldfish memory.
I was expecting money.
Yeah, I was gonna say fishing trip, hunting trip, like.
No, I mean, and here's the deal: everybody makes mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes. You got to have a goldfish memory, and yeah, no decision, no problem is permanent. Just going out and showing that. Okay, here's what really helps. Hey, Mike, I understand what just happened, and I understand what this means to you and how this affects you and your team and your project, your scope of the project. Let me get you on the next. I'm going to get you on the next one. This is not a permanent bad situation. We can make something up on the back end or on this. Hey, you have this kind of waiting in the awning. How about we can do something to help that out?
Okay.
Just like a normal human being relationship with like a friend or a spouse or child, those can be repaired, and sometimes it doesn't have to be anything, enormous, or just saying like, hey, look, I understand, man. Sorry, here's why this had to happen. Okay, it's all good. Thank you.
So I mean, it's somebody explaining the why behind it too.
There's a lot of that, yeah.
That's because a lot of decisions and a lot of angst between people is usually because somebody is assuming the reason why over here, but all actuality, the reason's over here, and it's something completely different. And I think that's a lot of issues that we have. We don't take the time to explain, hey, this is the reason why I made that decision. This is the reason why I'm telling you this, or this is the reason why I need you to do this at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the, hey, go do this, get this done, do it now, that kind of mindset. And then you're assuming some other things, and it never, people assume the wrong thing, and then it creates, rift between people.
For sure.
Or between trades, or between GCs or owners or whoever it may be.
Or even in their own teams, man. We were kind of alluding to this earlier, or Thomas, you were alluding to this earlier. It's not just, I got to trust the GC's got to trust the owner's got to trust us. There's not just that trust. We got to trust subcontractors, vendors, people on manufacturing lines who are building equipment or pipe valve fittings and duct. It's a whole network of trust. And at any point, if any of the people on my trust team, miss a date or have a quality issue, that becomes our like we're the face of that. And if anybody on your team has there's RFIs are not getting answered, submittals are not getting returned, or drawings are bad, whatever. It it's like, man, it goes to the GCs. Goes to your team. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And golly, I think that's the hardest part for me about this whole shebang, about this whole career in this profession, is that there are so many people that have, and so many people you don't even see, you don't even know, you'll never hear of them, but they have got to be doing the right thing, or else it just,
Or it's not going to work.
Yeah, it will not work. Yeah.
I mean, like you just talked about, any place that we build, there is so many people involved that we don't even know about, which is a weird thing to think about.
Yeah.
Because you don't think about it. You think about the people who are there every day. You think about the people who email, phone calls, stuff like that. But the example you just gave, it's the people way back in the line from the very beginning of creating those pieces that we need to build whatever we're doing. And you got to trust them too.
Oh man, yeah. And the funny thing for me is that, like, on the equipment side, that stuff's released way probably the first 25% of a project, maybe even sooner. But it doesn't get started up till the last 25%. And so all that trust and that you put into these people who are producing this equipment, and you get at the very end, and it's like, oh my gosh, these aren't programmed right, or yeah, all the fan modules are bad on 130 RTUs, so we're going to have to replace 130 fan modules. And it's like, oh my goodness. And it's always at the very end with the equipment problems. Like, there's no way to really test them early. Man, that is fun, buddy. Let me tell you.
I think Seth's dealing with that right now on the job he's on. If he wants to talk about that.
You can make me go on a long rant.
We got a sore subject there.
You made me go on a long rant.
I'm interested.
Well, we'll be talking Mike's language here in a second.
No, man. I think we've had a handful of, like, a lot of VAVs that came out with bad transformers that taken forever to get to replace them.
What?
Got fan coil, not fan coils, but coils and VAVs that are busted, that spring leaks, and then of course we had this lovely freeze last week that our boilers randomly shut off in the middle of the night and didn't come back up. And luckily we only had one unit with both of its heating and cooling coils both blew.
Oh my gosh.
And a condensing pump and on another unit. What else?
There's lots to unpack with that one.
It was a rough couple weeks out there. And that, I mean, down here it really never gets that cold, but it got down to wind chill, I think was like minus 11 on a couple mornings.
Yeah. Seth, where you at?
Salina.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it's north side of DFW. So there's nothing up there to stop the wind. So it's a little bit colder up there, but it hit hard, and that building had some damage that happened with all of the stuff that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily enough, there was a crew there big enough to help clean it up when it did happen out there. But it's been kind of stressful and just one of those moments that being a superintendent that you always never want to be a part of.
Oh yeah.
Even for the mechanical trade who's out there, they were, they helped a ton. Those guys were out there, they're fixing stuff, they were finding it, they were doing everything they can to make sure that everything was good for the owner at the end of the day. But that was a relationship that was created out there for so long on that building. No, but
yeah, that's a big challenge, and from transformers, you still got to wait for the manufacturer to provide it under warranty. That doesn't feel like it should be a hard thing to do, but it can. It can be challenging.
It's a warranty item.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be moving as fast on the warranty items.
Yeah.
Because it costs that's just general consensus. I could be wrong. I'm not the person talking to them, but they could be, oh, okay, well, we'll get to you when we get to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's they don't act. They're definitely not as fast on that as they are trying to make the sell. On the front end.
Yeah, they're definitely going to give their new circuit boards to the new clients who they just sold to.
Yep.
But
yeah, no, I've definitely been feeling the equipment side of things here for the last month and a half.
You can see the pain on his face.
Well, now he's smiling. So
and I mean, let's be honest, part of it's controls.
But yeah, you get controls and tab, and you get everybody else who's in the in the boat too, and those guys got to talk to each other and make sure they're doing the right stuff.
They are not in the same boat.
And they are rowing in two different directions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's when you get to that phase of the project and everybody has their hands in the equipment, it is very hard to figure out who messed this up, who touched this last, why is this messed up, who touched it, what put it in this condition. Did it happen just by itself? Probably not. Was it some sort of adjustment Tab was making? Is it a control sequence that has some sort of conflict somewhere? Yeah, that's construction, growing up kind of is like, hey, be careful. You're going to epic construction, digging ditches or whatever. Hey guys, look, construction's hard. You got to be very smart. Or you got to know what you're talking about. And reading comprehension has got to be high, because some of these installation manuals, just
they're written by somebody who went to school and got engineering school and stuff like that, and they're going to put something in those installation manuals like you're talking about. That's something that who is not an engineer. It's written in an engineering language. Let me rephrase it. Written in an engineering language, so it's not as common for somebody like us who has read before or written or anything like that. So it's written in a different mindset.
Oh my goodness! So,
but
it's challenging. You got to be smart, especially the equipment side, and you got to have guys that you can trust. Holy cow, that's a theme.
Trust.
Be in the groove with people you can trust.
Oh, there's the title. Write that down, Seth.
I can do this all day.
The groove you can trust?
No. Or the groove that you can trust? Or being in the groove with people you can trust?
That's a long.
Trusting.
We're just going to call it the
people.
Groove.
We're just going to call it the groove.
The groove. Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, with our original thought.
Simple.
But Mike, you brought up a point there. Like, how would you handle a situation where you have, and you got experience in this, like when you have a control side and tab, and you have those two who have to communicate with each other, who have to work together in the same boat. Like, there's no way around it. Like, they have to coordinate. They have to understand what each other are doing on a day-to-day basis. From my experience, what I've had is usually if, let's say, controls is doing something and then tab goes and change some setting or whatever they need on their end, but then tab will never admit that they did it because they're afraid of what may happen or some damage or whatever it may be. How do you make sure that those two are in the same boat and not pointing fingers at each other constantly?
What really makes it challenging is all three groups got to be in there and still try to maintain a schedule.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, I would say, hey, time out, stop. We need to go through this one at a time, and it's going to take longer. We're kind of in an emergency situation, or we're in a situation where we have got to take a tactical pause, a little time out, and address this in a very specific way. So first I would say, look, this is going to take longer, but this is what we have to do. Then I'd go through and make sure everything was good mechanically and that they'd been appropriately started up, right? And in the case of coils, I'd make sure, coils are not leaking, and I'd make sure that power is getting to the right spot at each point in that piece of equipment. So I'd go through with the startup guys and effectively do another startup. Then I'd go through and you have to have people watching this, and you have to have the controls go through, make sure all their communications are working and make sure all their points are set up, and do a quick little commission at each unit to make sure that we needed to do this. Okay, it's going to do this. We needed to do this. Okay, it's doing this. Do a quick little commission, make sure it's working. And then you go through and have your test and balance. But you have to do that for everything, right? And it's
so bring everybody in from the beginning and put them all in the same room and get them walk step by step with mechanical and then controls and tab all at the same time.
I would definitely do that after the commissioning is checked out, or excuse me, after the controls has checked out, right? And then we're going to say, all right, mechanical and controls, we're here. We've sorted through these issues. Mechanically, they work. Now the controls, they work. Now we can fine tune them and make sure we're putting out the right amount of, temperature or air or whatever that we're trying to do to make sure it gets balanced right. So,
my question, I got another question.
shoot.
Have you ever been on a project where the GC took the tab under their contract?
Yes. And that's actually, I'd say that's a trend that I'm seeing. Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
5 years ago, there'd been like 100% mechanical. That's like every project that I had, we would have done that. Now, it's probably about 30% from where I'm at.
Is it a trend that you like? Does it make it harder on you, or is it making it easier on you?
It's to be determined.
Okay.
That's
I like it because
great answer.
I like it because it is. I think I'd rather just have it. I think I'd rather just do it. It's less. There's an idea of the fox guarding the hen house.
Yep.
When we have tab, and I can see where that would create issues. I have really wished at some times that a tab guy would be like, "Hey, dude, please just say we're within plus or minus 10%, please." And then they'll say no. They got too much right on. I'm not gonna lie, but I've been like, "Please," but no. But I can see where some people that would actually happen, and it can get yourself in a lot of situations, a lot of bad situations. But still, I think when I'm doing it, the tab guy will send it to me. All right, I'll send it. We'll get the team together. We'll go through line by line and then distribute it so that they can go action on it, and then send it back to me, and I send it back to tab. It's versus tab has to send it to the GC, then it sits to the GC's inbox for a week. Then they send it to me, sits in my inbox, and then we're already 2 weeks back. Now it takes a week to get all these things fixed. Send it back in. Now it's a 3-week month turnaround as opposed to 2 weeks.
It's another step in the process.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in my experience, I'm going to tell you this. In my experience, it has gone horribly every time. When us as a GC, when we take it on ourselves to do it, unless it's a renovation where we're not doing a bunch of real putting new units on or stuff like that. We're just doing pre-tab.
I get like 3 VAVs for something.
That's when it's okay. But when you're on a bigger project and you need, like you said, that extra step in there where goes from tab to the GC to back to the mechanical trade or the controls, that's where that extra step and that communication line gets broken. And you start playing that game of telephone now, and you tell somebody, hey, this needs to be done over here, but then they go do something else over on this side. So from GC's perspective, I don't like it.
I don't like it either. This is the one and only time I've done it, and it will continue to be the only time that I've done it. I will get that moved so quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely telling my project managers not to do it anymore.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that from experience is like it's worked for so long. Like I understand that GC kind of wants more control over it and can get it for a little bit cheaper or whatever it may be, but the headache that you have at the end is not worth it.
Yeah, it's not free money, because you have to actually manage it.
Yes. Yeah. And not only that, but you're at the end of the project.
Yeah, it's the
you're
worst
at that
time
point You're at that point of the project where you're trying to finish. You're trying to finish that last 5% of the project. You're trying to make it look right. You're trying to put a good picture for the owner, like they're trying to move in, and then you get to the end and it's like, hey, we're having all these issues with test and balance. Like we could have solved this a different way and made everybody look a little bit better and had less issues and everybody in the same boat rocking or rowing the same way. So in that groove.
In the groove, baby.
I'm gonna have to think. I can't use the boat anymore. We're gonna have to use
the groove.
Trains.
Canoe.
What goes in a groove? A train? Because it's on tracks.
It's a track.
Yeah,
I was
but
about to say tongues.
No. I think
Come on, I was going carpentry on that. Tongue and
I
groove.
saw where you
Tongue and
were
groove.
going.
Tongue and
yeah,
groove.
of
Tongue and
course.
groove. I got
God.
you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we've been going at this for. This will be our longest episode. I'm going to tell you that right now, Mike.
Second longest.
What was our longest?
I think Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
That one went on for like 4. So
I mean, we're close. We're at 35 minutes, but I think this is a good point to end it because we are. We like to keep them short so people have time to listen to them on their drive in, while they're going in between things or whatever it may be. So,
and for those folks with the short attention spans,
like me,
those
I get like 10 minutes.
Those ADD folk, they can only listen to something for like 5 minutes and they're like, I'll move on.
Hey, do y'all think YouTube Shorts are designed to make our attention spans worse?
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, look at TikTok.
I don't know
Instagram
if I don't know if they designed it that way, but then they probably were like, people only pay attention to something for like a minute, and then decided let's just do that, and then we got worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at even when you're watching YouTube videos, look at the ads. Their ads are, you can skip them in 5 to 10 seconds. You got to get all your information.
That's a grueling 10 seconds.
It is.
And it is.
Yeah.
But they got to get all their information in the first 10 seconds. But if you're not paying attention, you get another 30 to a minute that they want you to watch their advertisement. So it's a different world. It's changed.
I'm pretty vigilant on the skip button. If I don't do it myself, my daughter or my wife will kindly remind me. Skip.
Yes. Or they do it themselves. They take the remote from you and skip it, especially when Blippy
or you get so fed up with it, and you just pay for YouTube Premium.
Yeah, I've heard.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube though.
Oh, see, I don't watch any like cable or anything like that anymore, unless it's sports. I mean, the Rangers start here pretty soon, so I'll be paying $100 to watch them all season.
Yeah. What's the new streaming platform? Victory? Is that it?
Something like that. Yeah.
That's the hockey one. I didn't know.
No, they're the same.
They're partnered together. So
you mean Bally Total Fitness is not the commercial or the channel?
No, wow. they finally got away from it.
Well, when they black out their own markets where you can't watch the games,
dude,
it's terrible.
It's so frustrating.
But we're also getting into golf season, so Masters is coming up here pretty soon.
Colonial.
We'll be watching that. Nobody else golfers?
No, I'm excited about the Colonial.
The Colonial, yeah. You got to go to the Colonial, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's not as fun watching it on TV. You got to be there. It's like the Byron Nelson. But that's a giant party.
For sure. I think they all kind of are.
Yeah, now they are. But they're fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
We should have had that on the list.
The Byron Nelson or the Colonial?
Either.
For the superintendent outing?
Yeah.
I can still add it.
Put it on there just to see what it would cost us. It's probably going to be ridiculous.
Which one? The Byron or the...
Let's do the Byron.
Byron?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've talked about enough. Are you trying to make it the longest episode? Is that what you're doing now?
Me?
You started it.
Oh.
Well,
you kept going. I'm just following suit, dude.
Oh. Well, I always forget how we end these.
It's.
I
don't know how you forget. It's the simplest. It's the simplest ending.
I know.
On the next episode of Build the Culture. And that's
a wrap.
And that's it.